Welcome to the Change of Him podcast. This is Gerard Uselli here. We are on episode 12. We have been in the barrel of New York City for all of this time, but this is a change of pace. And let me tell you, this is one of those moments for me where the change in my life has been impacted by this profound songwriter, one of my favorite bands, the Spill Canvas. I have the lead singer with us today, and his name is Nick Thomas. Nick, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Gerard?
I'm doing great. Let's get right into it. And what I'm curious about is, so South Dakota, it's a land of all lands. There's probably
Yeah.
so much to be discovered, and at the same time, there's so many things we can assume as well. I was curious to know what your childhood was like growing up.
Sure. Yeah. Well, also, first of all, thank you for the saying those things about the songwriter and all that, and that means the world to me. Thank you so much for those nice, kind words. Yeah. So South Dakota, I definitely didn't. I don't think I liked it that much growing up, as like being into like pop punk and punk rock and like metal and stuff. And I didn't like it in the sense of like, this like small, nowhereville, like I got to get out of here, like the kind of typical way I think that most, um, you know, teenagers or, adolescents feel about their hometown. But, I looking back, it definitely was South Dakota itself and Sioux Falls primarily, which is where I grew up. It's the biggest city in the state, which isn't really saying much. It's like 7 hours away from Mount Rushmore, so it's not like I saw that kind of like or the Badlands. It's not like I saw any of that beautiful landscape growing up, really. So yeah, in my older years, I think I've come to appreciate it a lot more. And just looking back at the music scene that I grew up in, I think it was a certain time frame, um, before the internet, or in the infancy of the internet. Um, and we had like this scene of music lovers, that showgoers that playing at the VFW halls and like the Knights of Columbus halls and the Oddfellows halls and like the all the basements, tons of basements, shows. And but growing up like as a child, I don't my memory is just kind of, I only go as far back as like 7 to 8 years old, but like, I the formative years, like in regards to where I am today as like a musician, throughout high school, there were all house shows. And like, I remember seeing, gosh, I mean, so many amazing acts. I remember it was a snow day from high school, and we no, you didn't have to go to school that day. Snow day, which is very typical for South Dakota winter because it's. Wow. Can I swear on this
Oh
podcast?
yeah, of course.
Okay, it's fucking brutal. It's fucking
Nice.
brutal. I mean, negative 30 with the wind chill, negative 20, whatever. Arctic, just awfulness. And it was a snow day, but there was a show that was supposed to be happening. The kind of local heroes that I looked up to, they were 5, 6 years older than I was. I think all the kids in the local scene looked up to them because they were the first band that we knew from Sioux Falls, like from Sioux Falls, to go tour. They like got a van and like a trailer, and they like went and played somewhere other than in the basements or the Knights of Columbus halls in Sioux Falls. And we were like, wow, that's so cool, you made it, that's amazing. And they were playing they're supposed to be playing a show at the promoter's house in his basement with a guy on acoustic. They did like 2 weeks with, and his name was Chris Caraba, and he was doing Dashboard Confessional.
Oh
And
wow.
like, so I was like, I convinced my dad, like, I can drive in the snow, like whatever, I just want to go see. This band was called Billy Music. Incredible band. They're so good. And I wanted to go see Billy Music, and whoever else was there, I was like, sure. I was always down to see live music, and I got to see him play. And there's like 12 people that came out to the show, like to maybe mainly to support the promoter, who was a friend of all of ours, to be like, yeah, man. I mean, I'll come and like pay the $5 because I know
I
you're
was
gonna.
formerly a music promoter myself, so I completely
Yeah,
understand that process.
like buddy, all of his buddies or whatever. We were all friends with him. And it's like, man, he's gonna lose his ass on this. I don't know how he's gonna pay the guy. And then okay, let's go out and whatever. It was partly that, but partly just promoting or supporting local music. And it was just a such a tight knit, like I guess you could call it a scene. It was definitely a scene, I guess, at that point. And I just grew up with a lot of like encouragement and a wide array of music. We had like a hip hop like section of like those kids that were like just started their like outlet was of music was like hip hop, and they would be paired. We'd have a show like where we play with them, and then like a metal band, and then like a rock like pop punk band. But everyone was like
Mhm.
supportive of everything, So I definitely think I lucked out looking back on it, with that really just open arms, open ears, like accepting local music scene. And that's what helped, I think, probably, if not solely, to give me the confidence and want and desire to like do my own solo stuff. And try just like being in doing solo stuff, or other than the first band that or the first few bands that I was in, which I just played guitar or other instruments.
I want to see if there's any correlation on this follow-up question. So,
Sure.
as you were talking about the Knights of Columbus from before and having a lot of these locality type of venues around your hometown, have you ever been to like a family party or something like that, and then also going to a show at the same venue?
Oh, like like a family reunion, and then there's like a show going on there as well.
It could literally be within like the same sense of the venue. Like you've probably been to like a family reunion like the week before, and then going to a
Yeah,
show like the week after or something like that.
yeah. I actually several. I mean, certain things like there would be like um there would be event halls also in like the hotel chains, that every once in a while like a bigger act would come through, or like it would just be like like maybe 50 to 100 kids would show up. And in that same event hall, like I was had recently gone to some wedding for and I was at a wedding reception with my family or something, in the same thing. So I mean, I think the VFW halls and the Knights of Columbus and those things, I never actually went there other than to do like the show thing. But yeah, I mean, they were all purpose venues, to say the least. Yeah.
Absolutely. And kind of going back to like your early taste in music, having a metal phase when you first started in bands, like who are some people within your life, whether it just be like siblings or any like cousins or anything like that, who have inspired your taste of music kind of transcending upon time?
Oh man, yeah. I would attribute a lot of my man, I think a lot of my early like first love of music and musical taste came from a few people. I would say first it was my one of my best friends that in my life. We still keep in touch. But we had uh, parted ways in a sense. It just kind of grew apart. But when I moved I briefly lived in Minneapolis with my dad, from like the ages of like 7 to maybe 9, 7 to 10 or something like that. And when I had moved back to South Dakota to Sioux Falls, I moved across the street from this older kid who I saw skateboarding, and he would like be skateboarding in my driveway of like our little like duplex across the street. And like I would ride my bike like past and just like, you just like back then it was like there was no cell phones because I'm a dinosaur. So like you just like struck up conversation, which sounds so weird even to say right now, because like you don't know, but like you're younger and you're just like, hey, like what's up or whatever, and he had like struck up a conversation with me. I don't remember even how, but we became friends. So he was my neighbor, and we just were like we're friends. And I was like, "This is cool. I'm hanging out with like the cool like older kids, like and his friends." And I slowly like got integrated into all their hangouts and all the mischief they were causing as like they were like 16, 15, 16, and I was like 12, 13. And yeah, like he kind of took me under his wing in a sense, and like we just were really good friends. And like he showed me, I mean, gosh, I mean, like the some of the first music I had ever gotten into, which was like um the first CD I ever bought, or the first tape I tape cassette tapes, which are now cool again somehow.
Exactly.
Uh,
That's what we do in
I,
this
uh,
generation.
I was buying them because like I didn't have the money for a CD player, or like like a Walkman with like a CD player or whatever. But I no, I bought like the Weezer's Blue Album on tape. I bought that a couple times from hearing it from my buddy Chris, the neighbor, Chris Langford. Shout out to Chris Langford. And he got me into like a lot of Fat Records bands like No Effects,
Nice.
Strung Out. Um, gosh, what else? Um, a lot of that like super fast, like
Lagwagon.
Lagwagon, yes, Lagwagon, all the Fat Record stuff from like the late '90s and early 2000s. Lagwagon was a big one. Which led me personally just into more exploratory realms of it on my own, with like once the internet was like kind of accessible. It was dial up still, but like we had a great local record store called Ernie November, and I would go in like it had like they sold like little pipes there and all the incense and then all the records, so it just permanently smelled like Nag Champa, which I love the smell of. um and so I would go in there and just like we just had hang out talking to the main guy. Gosh, Terry Taylor. Shout out to Terry Taylor too. He went on to own a production company, promotion company as well. Um, but he was the local like record store dude that um, would give you like suggestions and stuff like that. And then my taste built from this Fat Records pop punk, fast kind of fast pop punk or fast punk rock stuff into I liked certain ska stuff, but not too much. I just like the horns I could never get past, but I still really loved Less Than Jake.
Oh, of
That's another
course.
one. I still it's cool. I mean, yeah, I love Less Than Jake. We had painted the mural from Losing Streak on my wall in my basement, me and my neighbor Chris, because we listened to that so much. So I definitely had like a little ska phase to it, but leaned more towards like that Fat Record stuff. And then, I think after that, I had, you know, it was just like friends within the music scene that I'd get turned, or just shows. I'd be going to shows and I'd like get turned on to this band or this band. Um, a friend of mine who played bass in the Canvas, technically, there was an earlier phase um, when it was just me. I wanted it to be a band, and I had gotten a girl named Becca Flynn to sing with me. because I just wanted some harmonies, and her voice was amazing. And this was in high school, and then I had kind of acquired a good friend of mine from going to shows, Hannah Pesky, to play violin and sing with me. And then we acquired this another friend of ours from the shows, Alan Burkhardt, and Alan Burkhardt turned me on to Saves the Day, which was like
Oh man,
that
seen
was
them
a huge
twice. They're so good.
that was a huge, huge one for me because I was like, wait a second, holy shit, what is like it had because I had first heard Through Being Cool and then went back to Can't Slow Down, but Through Being Cool had just come out, and Alan Burkhardt was playing it a ton in his car. And like you just drive back then, like you're fun. Like I wasn't really doing much like in the way of like every once in a while, like I would smoke weed or something, but we didn't, it was like maybe you drink at a party or something, but you're just driving around and like like Alan, for example, was like a chain smoker. So you just drive around and listen to music, and he'd just be smoking cigarettes and just talking about how cool this part is and wait, oh, this part, and then he'd turn it up. And I was like immediately sold on Saves the Day, because of just it was pop punk, but his lyrics were just Chris Conley's lyrics were just like crazy deep and like kind of odd and really dark too. They had this dark tint to them. And it was just a type of pop punk I'd never heard before. And they're still one of my top five like all time favorites, for
I
sure.
also got to say with Saves the Day, something that's very special about their music, when you try to like follow along with their songs and sing them out, on the first couple of times you actually try to sing those songs, it's hard to tell where their direction goes lyrically because of
Oh
how well
yeah.
intent his music is.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, he has such a unique way of going about it because it's not, and when you like I'll listen back now and to like Through Being Cool, or I mean one of my probably my favorite album of theirs is Stay What You Are, which is a fan favorite I think as well. But I it's just so like, wow, I can't believe that's the lyric that goes there, like, and that's the one that's like stuck permanently in my head, that I know every nuance of how he's singing it on the album. But like when you think of, I'm as older, like into my 30s and stuff, I start to look back a lot more and be a little more reflective, and like he just says some of the most kind of painfully dark stuff, to this pop punk music, this beautiful pop punk music. Or at times they went a little psychedelic and got weird, and now some of their newer stuff is definitely a lot weirder too. But um still just such an amazing songwriter. I love him, and I love everything they do. But yeah, in a roundabout way, I'd say, like my buddy and neighbor Chris Langford, Alan Burkhardt, and then this band of metal Christian metalheads. When I joined this band called Nodes of Ranvier for writing their second record, I played guitar. I'd never been in a metal band. I was like, I can't play metal guitar. I don't know. And the drummer was Ryan Knutson, the drummer of Nodes of Ranvier, was a better guitar player than myself and the other guitar player, John Parker. He's better than both of us combined, but he was the drummer. And I moved into like the band house, the Nodes of Ranvier house. And
And
like,
house.
like, yeah, we all, and I was like, cool. Like, I don't have to live with my parents anymore. I live with the band. And, aside from just them like having me like drill sergeants, like they would just be like, what are you doing, like get downstairs and practice, like. And it was good for me as a musician, but also musically they loved a lot of heavy music. But they liked a lot of cool stuff that turned me on to like that opened other doors. Like they introduced me to like Pedro the Lion,
Ooh, okay.
like that kind of just like, which is they had a Christian, they were a Christian, I guess we were when I was in it as well. But and we put out one record with me on it. It was on Face Down Records, which is a Christian, metal label, but like it wasn't like at the forefront of like their thing. And I, being myself, I never really was quite, to put a label on it, but I they accepted, they didn't really care, and they just accepted me. So it was really cool. But they turned me on to like, um, man, a lot of, well, like one of my favorite metal bands, which is probably a lot of, it's very commercial as far as metal goes, but Kill Switch Engage, which I
Of
love them so
course.
much. um I just, it's super commercial, but I love it. It's still really, really good. And I still listen to, yeah, like crazy hardcore stuff, from like Seisha and like
That's
Converge
hard.
and yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're
And yeah,
I've been dying to see those guys. Like when I was younger, high school time, that was
yeah.
like one of my top 5 bands I wanted to
Oh,
see.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, like stuff. Yeah, like just a wide array. Again, the best part was they didn't just listen to that hard music; they listened to just everything, and it really opened me up to being like, oh, I love that you guys are in this metal band, and like obviously you love this hardcore or this metal or whatever, but you appreciate all these other types of music. And it just taught me, I think that's where it really set, because I was like 18, 17 or 18 at the time. So it just really set me in my way of like musical thinking, of being very accepting of all styles, and yeah, I think those are those are the ones that come to mind anyway, as far as landmark people that have influenced my, musical palette, I suppose.
And I guess kind of on the chapter of like the sense of South Dakota, Google has a lot of Snapple facts that I really find interesting when I do research. So, one example of that is on ranker.com, you were ranked the number one best band out of South Dakota. As you were getting more exposure as a musician, did it inspire you to get your music out to as many people as possible?
Yes, that fact, by the way, is just so crazy to me. I've heard it from from several other sources as well. Just, which is just crazy. But yeah, I think that was always the goal. Like when as I was referring to that band Billy Music, when they started touring, everyone thought it was just like, oh my god, like they did it, they made it, because that in our mind was like making it was like, you played like a skate park in Minneapolis to like 40 kids, and like that's amazing, like how much do you, and you sold 5 shirts, oh my god, that's so cool, and like, I mean, that still is cool, I think personally today, because it's like still in whatever connection, it doesn't matter
I
the
think people want to
amount.
buy anything tangible like that in person from you.
Yeah, I still to this day am like, wow, you want to like, that's awesome, because that means that it worked. That means that the musical, the whole idea of live music, you like putting your heart and just like laying it on stage as best you can in whatever form of music you create, and that audience member saw it, felt it, and translated it into whatever they felt, they could connect with it on, whatever level they felt they could connect with it on. And like that was enough to like want to buy a shirt. So like, I think the goal was always, since day one, to like, this again, this is different because you couldn't just like get your song on a streaming platform, which didn't exist, and then like get your name hyped up on social media, which didn't exist. Maybe like Friendster was just kicking around, and then MySpace kind of was slowly coming about, as we had already been about a year or two into like heavy touring. And the touring that like is the first weekend after, or yeah, the first week after I graduated high school, had I had booked a tour, which was literally like 5 to 7 shows that one of them paid me like $50, which was awesome. Um, but the rest were just like, and I had like a minivan and I took my high school girlfriend at the time to like do merch for me. And like, I just wanted to play for as many people as possible. Like that was the goal. That just was like an, I don't know when or how, but that just was always like, oh, that's just what we do. That's what we have to do to, get the music out there and see if people like it. And like, but it's going to take time. And like that's, I always had a vision of like it will take us like 2 to 3 years before like we have like a nice fan base that we can go back to that city in that state, after a year or after 6 months. And like that crowd of 20 will be now 40 or maybe 60. And then the next time, the next time. And I think we lucked out with the internet not being a tool at our disposal that was too availably ready. I mean, in terms of social media, I think, because obviously we posted like our tour dates on the internet and people would come out, but a lot of times it's was still the promoter in the local, venue that had to promote that show. So I don't know. I think it was just we'd always had it in our, I mean, especially me, at least. I think I can speak for all the guys that were in the band at the time as well as the new lineup. Like it's just that's how you build like a very loyal and organic fan base and following is by playing their hometown and connecting with them and talking with them after the show. And like, and then like just being the being in the band is not enough. Being on social media, like you can connect with people, and I know that that is cool and all, but um I don't know if it's exactly true at this point, but I would venture to say that the metrics don't play out where like a ton of followers doesn't mean you're gonna be able to have some kind of successful tour or fan base that will stick around with you for the next decade, because they're fans. Like we had a ton of fair weather fans when we got some commercial success, and that's okay, and we appreciate that. But you know before that we had built over years of hard work a decent solid fan base that is still, a lot of them are our age because they've been growing up with us, and I think that was the goal was, and it still is the goal, is to have the music be reach as many ears as possible. And if they like it or not is kind of honestly, that's just the cherry on top if they do or they don't. Because that's for them to decide. The whole point though is to get it in their ears in the first place, you
What
know?
was the first time that, like, let's say you were playing a bigger show, maybe 100 to 200 people at this point,
Yeah.
that you kind of noticed people started wearing your shirts? Like, how did that make you feel in the time of the essence?
Dude, I can remember distinctly it was a summer. I don't recall the year. It was a summer in it was like a summer and it was a week of like about a week and a half string of shows that was all in the northeast area from like Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boston, Philly, uh, you know, um, Montclair, New Jersey,
Hmm.
like just a bunch of New Jersey, um, you know, like out like upstate New York, all of this like Buffalo in particular. I do think that the one that stands out the most, there are a couple, but like was a New Jersey show and a Buffalo show where these kids were like singing the lyrics, and they wore the shirt they bought the last show at that show. And I was like, I mean, I can, it's still that feeling of them singing the lyrics has never changed. It's never changed from that day to this very day. I mean, we haven't played a show in front of people in a long time, but you know, still the same feeling. It's so surreal, and you don't feel. I don't feel worthy of it, but I don't. I never. I revel in that moment. I just love to live and feel what it feels like in that moment, because you're just fully connecting in the way that music should, is like they don't know what I just went through my whole day up until that moment when they're hearing that song that they like love, or that part of that song that they love, or just even like a little bit, and they're there, they paid, they're and they're singing along like they they don't know what I've been going through. They don't, and I don't know what they're going through, and none of it matters. It all melts away. And it should matter, but like it just everything melts away, and we are just in this like, give and take thing, because to me, on a grander scale, none of this, being an artist and all that, and none of it works without people giving a shit and
Right.
liking, or at least supporting your music enough to the point where it personally means something to them. Um, because it's not like, yeah, those are songs that I wrote or helped write, or wrote the lyrics to, and this and that. But I don't consider it like, it's not like mine once it's out there, because then it's like it's everyone's, or it's the universe. It's very hippy dippy shit. But um I don't know if that answers your question. I think it was that standout moment was at Buffalo, at a maybe this is I'm really bad with venue names. Maybe like the Icon is what it used to be called. Buffalo at the Icon, and then Montclair, New Jersey, at a place on like Montclair Avenue or something. It
I
was just
gotcha.
like a little Jersey like dive bar place where it was like, oh, it was just so crazy. It was the coolest feeling ever. It was like, no fucking way. How do you know these lyrics? That's crazy. I can't believe you're singing. Like I could hear them singing along. Like, I don't know. It's still wild to me today, but
Kind of to transpire that into my next question, and this is
sure.
going to be a loaded question. However, I do feel like there is a way you could kind of answer this based on how people react to your songs live. So, for someone who is known for their songwriting talents, what do you think is the most timeless lyric you've ever written?
Oh, I
I had
I
to prep
didn't.
that the way I should have.
No, you're good. I didn't see this one. Oh gosh, Gerard, you put me on the spot here. Um, I it's just such a the being the primary songwriter and writing the lyrics and everything. It is such a you know it's a selfish endeavor at first, because I'm writing to heal, or understand, or compute, or cope with some situation, or revel and like celebrate in some situation, if it's a love song, or you know um so it's just this, at first it's a selfish endeavor, um and afterwards, I mean, it's when people can, like I was referring to, can take the lyrics, a specific passage in general, um and like, when, and I've seen, like, it's crazy to me every time I see it. It just still blows my mind when people have the tattoos of the lyrics, like lyrics that I just like thought up, or like, maybe I didn't. Okay, so I don't think the lyrics up just like that. Sometimes they come to me like that, but I will like, I mean, it takes me a nice good chunk of like at least a week. Sometimes they come out every once in a while, like pretty quickly. But I'm just such a like stickler on like on myself of like I've already used that reference or I've already used that. So it's so crazy to see, like someone with the tattoo. And if I were to say, if the timeless, what's the most timeless lyric I've written? Question. I'm beating around the bush because I don't know how to answer it. I would, because I think the most timeless things to me are not are definitely of the excuse me. They're definitely the most popular sing-alongy type lyrics that I can back away from the mic and hear like the crowd is fully like every one of those people, except for maybe a few boyfriends or husbands who'd like, I don't really listen to you, I just came along, she loves you guys. Like,
That was good.
you know but like everyone is singing. Those moments are probably what I would equate in my mind to timeless, because I personally, what I think are the most timeless ones, I don't know that I think they're timeless. I want to write from a timeless perspective because I want it to always matter. Now, dated sounding songs, we have a lot of those in our catalog, but you know, I want the lyrics to always be timeless. So I think I always write from that perspective because I just always have, and um, I want it to be accessible always at any given time. Um, but I would say, going by the definition of timeless, meaning maybe the most like I don't know. I mean, I think probably the chorus of like, I don't know, the chorus of like the Tide or something,
Right.
or like the chorus of the Tide. That's a big one, but like also um the the one one I kind of see a lot or more of is the core, like the first line from This Is For Keeps, eternity will never be enough. That's like I love that one, and it kind of like it has to do with time. So it's like this endless love song. But that one, as well as um the what is it? I would say it's more of a current one. If you had a gun to my head, which this scenario would never happen, where you're like, pick what lyric of yours is the most timeless, and I'd be like, I don't know, I really can't decide. Gun to my
That'd be
head
like a
though.
Joe Rogan like cartoon right there.
Yeah. I mean, like, such a weird, like, phrase, because I get the point is trying to make, but it's like, who's holding a gun to my head being like, "Tell me what the most timeless, like, lyric you ever wrote." What, like, um, it's just funny to think about. I like the, bridge of Lullaby. It's probably, other than the new music, which I'm super the new album and the new music lyrics, which I'm very much, that's on my radar right now because it's who I am now. But that bridge of Lullaby, specifically the Lullaby was up our third record, No Really I'm Fine, and it was it's like the love ballad, and it's like the bridge, there's a specific couple specific points when it's like, I was constructed for you and you were molded for me. um I just love, I don't know, I really love the whole bridge of that song. And like everyone's gonna feel that way about someone at some point. I hope they will.
That's a great like perspective as far as how you want to connect people together as far as joining in and understanding where your time has come from. Also in that sense, as far as technique, I've noticed that a lot of your lyrics rhyme. Now, paying homage to Aesop Rock right on the shirt, which I could fully appreciate to say the least. Noting that Aesop Rock is one of your favorite rappers, how does his writing impact yours?
um it's crazy because like obviously if you listen to Aesop Rock, not ASAP Rocky, by the way. If you go listen to Aesop Rock, um specifically, there's a lot of good backpack rap. I think that's maybe what they maybe the a loose genre of hip hop this might be. But he is he's been there as a I listened to him when I learned who Atmosphere and Aesop Rock were within the same like week.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I love Atmosphere. He's great. Slug is super good. I tended to lean a bit more towards Aesop Rock because of just how outrageous what he was saying it was, because it's so weird and poetic. I mean, all he like he'll have a string of thoughts that like sometimes he'll tell a whole story in a song. But more often than not, it's like a it might be a story, but it's like he's describing like certain things with words that like no rapper is using. Um I can't even like I can't even that's so weird to say this. Like if I picture like I have to like go through the song in my head, like I can't rap along to him. It's very rare. I could get like a couple lines in, like I'll know that this line's coming, and then I stop. Like because I can't he's very it's very unique. It's definitely fast. It can be fast. Um but he's also his flow is also slower. I think the biggest way that he has influenced me, as well as in addition to my other favorite rappers, um, on a more macro scale, it's the like the feeling that my mind gets, which it maybe is OCD driven or something, but the feeling my mind gets when a stanza of or a rhyme scheme is completed or rounded out. Um, like if you have line A, ending in a, I don't know. I mean, I should have had like something prepared. Um, Here, I got a lyric book right here. Hold on.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
This is like, so I've been writing these downright songs, which are custom written songs, um, for people that commission them, and they tell me what they want the song about, and then I do my best to write a song. So I'll go with one that I've already given the guy. Okay, yeah. So here, okay, so it's this whole like no, the lyrics don't. This is for someone else. But it's the way that the stanzas like rhyme and complete. It's so satisfying to my mind. So it's as the mile markers pass us by, I think to myself, there's nowhere else I'd rather be, which right there is like a compound rhyme too.
Right.
I think to myself, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. So as the mile markers pass us by, I think to myself, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Every adventure, whether land or sky, is better when we are together like gravity to our galaxy. So it's just like a lot of compound rhyming is super satisfying to me, but also just like that E, like the E, it's not the syllable, like the vowel of the word. I don't know, for whatever reason, it is so satisfying to me, and that's probably what draws me to certain hip hop artists and rappers, specifically Aesop Rock. It's strictly just rhyming. It is so like someone I like a lot of rappers, but they're all pretty obscure. I mean, I also other than Aesop Rock, like Eminem is like way up there for
Oh
me.
yeah.
And like I don't really care, like he's whatever, but like he's commercially like whatever, but it's because he's like the best. And I mean, I mean, he's just so talented at like taking those like, I mean, it's like the rhyme schemes are just like outrageous. And that is so, I think it's just, it doesn't matter that it's hip hop that I don't do it. I've actually recorded one hip hop song, but I don't think anyone's ever going to hear that. Um,
That's funny.
yeah. Uh, it's just, even though I don't do it or whatever, and I don't like it doesn't matter. Like I love the artistry behind the wordsmithing and the rhyming. It's just such a satisfying feeling. It's like I don't know. It's like organizing a desk or something. It's like very
Interesting
ah,
you said that.
yeah.
Very interesting. Because think of it this way, and even outside of Aesop Rock, one of my favorite associated ways of forming schematics is through the song Super Lyrical with Big Pun and Black Thought. When you listen
Oh
to a song like that, there is just something so compelling when you're literally referencing and writing a verse that could be dedicated to so many things
yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Uh that is, I mean, that as well, like when it's ambiguous in its intent, is something that's super appealing to me as well. I think it's just like satisfying. I don't know how else to explain it. I think that's the best way I could. And it's definitely gotten me, I'll catch myself in a writing hole, like I can't get out of it because I need to complete this rhyme and there's no other words or like phrases or whatever that will fill there. And the ones that do, I'm not able to like get out the thought correctly to connect it. So I'll definitely get in trouble a lot in my own mind of like I'll hit a wall because I'll be like, I need to complete this rhyme. But I think it's worth it when you make it work.
And especially on the sense of writing songs yourself and getting into your new album, you have two new singles out, Molecules and Firestorm. What I want to know is what's been on your mind.
Dude, okay. Yeah. What's been on my mind is that I've been um I've wanted to put out a new Spill Canvas record since we began touring as the Spill Canvas again with an our basically our original bass player, our second bass player. He's been with us long enough, Landon Heil. Him and I, we uh we began touring a solo record of mine in 2000 like 15, which was basically just a bunch of Spill Canvas songs that didn't like make it anywhere. And but after that, we had gotten asked to support Motion City Soundtrack on their 10-year anniversary tour for their album "Commit This to Memory," in which
Yeah.
we were the support on the original tour for when that album came out in 2007. So it or 2006 or seven, I can't remember. So we got asked to do that, and we had a new drummer. The other two members had left, and so since that tour, we realized like, oh, we're still kind of like there's still people out there that care. I mean, like we should do like a headlining run, and after that initial support tour back with Motion City, and then our headlining run after that, which I believe was a 10-year anniversary tour for us. That was when we realized like we need to write new music, like, and so it's been like 5 6 years of wanting this to come to fruition. So I what's on my mind is um it's a lot. It's just like is just like I all I think about is just the all the stuff that I'm like, it's not a lot, but it's just a lot of tedious little emails, all throughout the day, with our new label and our PR company that's helping us push this, and then also, thinking of cool ways to like stay relevant and like, keep reminding people on social media of the record without shoving it down their throat. And these are all new things to me as a business, as like a business owner. um, I definitely am a musician first and a business owner second, and I will be the first to admit that. That doesn't mean I'm not trying, or that we're not trying. I think we've come a long way, um, since we were not on a label for the past, 5, 6 years, and we've come a long way. But I'm just, I don't know. It's surreal to me. I can't. It's not. What's on my mind is definitely just I can't wait for people to hear the next single, which is coming out next week, and then I just want them to hear the whole record. uh, Also, I am the one of the bigger things that takes over my mind. Which is this. It's bad timing, but I'm so proud of her. My wife Sarah has been working her ass off at her job, within her career since before I met her, and she got a very well deserved promotion. But that means that we are relocating, in order for her to fulfill that promotion. So we're relocating to California. Um,
Oh wow.
we're we are literally flying there, um, the day after the new album comes out. So
Oh,
um,
talk about change.
yeah, like and we're in Orlando, Florida right now, and we've been here for the last 5 years or so. Um, yeah, it's maybe 4 years. God, I can't remember. Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about just like moving, which is like, it's an exciting change because I mean, I'm so unbelievably proud of her. It's just so cool to watch her, like, it's like a dream of hers, because she is just so good at what she does within her company and is being recognized for that. Um, and is getting to play this role in a bigger position in which she's uh very well equipped to do. And that is happening at the same time that like my dream that she knows that I've been working towards since we met is coming true and to fruition. So we're both like in a big, like, a very stressful environment, but it's like the excited kind of stress. Um and kind of like, yeah, it's a ton of excitement. So yeah, it would be different if I was just chilling at the house and then the record comes out and it's like, okay, um well, now we still can't tour. Like, I guess I'll just keep
It's
posting
literally a
about it.
3 hour dopamine rush when that stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just like, wow, there's so much to do. But like in a cool way, in a way that's like, I won't like be sitting around just like, you know, on a slow day, even though there's like singles out and there's stuff to push and there's no interviews, there's no anything to prepare for. It just would be a slow day. And like maybe I'll answer one email and then just like, sit around and like, okay, I'll do a downright song, or I'll write a downright song. Okay. Um, which that is actually, that's a pretty difficult one to get onto because forced creativity is a tough one for me. So I'll do like one a week. Um, but it's just thinking about the new album and moving across the country, literally, the entire country. So yeah.
Absolutely exciting stuff. I'm sure your emotions are as high as the clouds that you're going to be flying through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, that's a great way to put it. We have friends out there are like, our like fifth, I call him our fifth member, because I think on the next record we're just going to be crediting him as our member, Jeff Black, who has recently come into my life as a musician who, I mean, as a musician first, who we was a friend of our managers, and he ended up doing lap steel and piano keyboards for this winery tour that we did a few years ago. And I just like connected so deeply with him, and we all did. He's just like a mad genius at every, I mean, he's multi-instrumentalist. He's so good. Jeff lives out there in LA with his girlfriend. So very excited to be around him and create, because I'm here in Orlando. I'm next to our guitar player Evan, our lead player Evan, but we just don't, since the pandemic and everything, and it's just, he lives about an hour and a half away, and it's just difficult for us to meet up. And so um just because of travel, like car situations.
Sure,
um
and an apples to orange scenario. So I'm sure. So I do remember in an interview you did, you had some rituals that were pretty quirky before you did your shows. Now, of
yes.
course, things are compare to contrast when you're doing things online, whether you're practicing, trying to do like live demos and things of that sort. But I'm curious with some of those rituals, have they kind of like transcended as far as like online? Do you do anything quirky together and stuff like that?
uh yeah. Like you mean as a band, like?
As a band,
Yeah.
like, let's say you're all like a Zoom together or something. You have anything that kind of like transpires through that?
We do, like, we're just kind of like, so we have a Patreon. It's just patreon.com/slash the spill canvas, and we do monthly for the different tiers. Like one of the tiers, we do a monthly Zoom podcast, and then we do a monthly Zoom live Q&A, like just hang out, where I just like will ramble and like talk to the people. And but the podcast one in particular, when we all get together, like before we start like officially rolling, um you know we post the video and the audio, and it's like our conversations are like, I don't know if it's ritual so much, it's just like we have the weirdest conversations. And like we definitely, we love comedy. Like um we're big fans of like comedians and comedy, and like I myself am just have become a huge comedy fan in the last like 6 years, more so than I ever have been, mainly because of comedians that have podcasts that I really like, and obviously Netflix specials become a thing. So there's like, we have a certain level of like, I think I appreciate comedians too, because they push this boundary of artistic like expression, albeit like through humor and jokes. It's still, that is an art form that I like admire so deeply. But they're also saying things that are like the hot button issues and stuff. Like we're very like like, if it would be, we're just kind of loose with our like words and what we're saying. We're not obviously like in any bad or like offensive way. It just might offend some people, but we're not like yeah, we're not like, you know we're not like Nazis or racists or anything like that. Or like murderers or pedos or anything. But
Is there going
we
to be a
like,
disclaimer button below?
yeah. We no, we just like, we're super like raw with each other, and because we understand we're joking, it's always a joke to us. Like it's rarely serious, which can be a problem when you're running a business sometimes, because we don't have that in us. We just feel so fortunate, to get to do it. So uh, the rituals have really gone away, to be honest, because the live show is not there anymore. So we don't have that as much, or if at all, really. We do a little huddle before we play. We did a live stream in August, a full band live stream, where all of us came down, all the crew, I guess, came down to Orlando. We did it here in a venue, which was awesome. It was really cool. But before that show was the same thing. We get in a huddle and like a real like actual huddle, like arms around each other like this, and it's like, well, who do we do this one for? And you know, it's always like it's sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a dog, one of our dogs. Um, a lot of times it's like a very weird joking thing that happened like earlier in the day. Um, Sometimes it's like something a little like a little crass and dumb and just like potty humor or something. But rituals, we don't have any uh, per se within the band online digitally at this point, but I have had personally I have not talked to my therapist about this yet, but uh I've got this OCD thing of doing things everything in increments of 3. So like on the car radio, it
Hmm.
has to be all in increments of 3 because 3 is like my favorite number and like I love 3. But then when I go to like mix any of these audio these downright songs, like I'm turning the faders and every like knob I can to like 3 and it's or divisible by 3, which is not good because it's like that doesn't that's not going to make whatever you have to turn the knob and adjust the level to where it should be, not a level of 3. And like I have to buy 3 Gatorades. Like if I go get some Gatorade, I have to 3 Gatorades. it's
Know what
it's
I'm
really.
thinking about with with that type of like way of thinking? I so of course in ways of pop culture and what you hear throughout your life, I feel
Mhm.
like three symbolizes to me that you go on your own pace.
I mean, I li- I like that explanation so much more than what I fear it is, which is just some like obsessive, like some compulsion, obsessive compulsive thing that's happening. But I like that because that is exactly what it is. Like I don't, I'm not, I'm very, I'd like to think I'm a kind person, but I also just like, I'm just gonna I have to be who I am and just not do what I want, but like I mean that's the whole point is to live your dream and do what you want. And but I also have like that means doing what I want or what I'm comfortable with sometimes annoys the shit out of my wife or my friends or my bandmates, and they're like, like with this again, like just chill, man, or whatever, and um but yeah, I mean, you just it's whatever. What was the phrase that was really funny and popular? Or not funny. It was popular a while back. I'm living my truth. This is my truth.
Oh yeah, I wish
Oh,
TikTok was a
oh,
thing back then because they would totally take advantage of that one.
no, dude, I live my truth hard all day, all night.
Yeah, you got me thinking of like Vine stuff right now.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Fine.
Now, as a final conclusion, as far as just the way of this wonderful conversation has been so far, and a final question I like to ask every of my guests, what's the biggest change you want to see for yourself this year?
Man, the biggest change I would love to see for myself this year is is man, I'm working on myself um 24/7, and um that is and a lot of times I'll make zero to no progress, but the fact that I'm trying is really all I can do. And so, and I know that sounds like, just a cop out, but I mean, it really is. I won't get into specifics, but that's all you can do is do your best. Nothing came out today, or you made a little bit of progress in this aspect or this aspect. I'm mentally unwell with this disorder called schizoaffective disorder, so I have to work on myself constantly to keep it in check. But I'm also a recovering addict, and like I gotta constantly keep that in check and be like, hey, don't do drugs today. Hey, don't do drugs today. And um, it's just never ending. So I think the biggest change I'd like to see for myself this year is, um, I mean, is to 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 give, I don't know, maybe to give myself a little more grace, as my wife might put it, or my therapist might put it. Um, I still can't get through this like being super hard on myself thing, but like I feel like I have to be, or else I will succumb to a lot of the mental disorders or the addiction things in a big bad way. So it feels like I got to be hard on myself, but I also have always just kind of been that way. Um, I'd like to maybe turn the extreme extreme way that I'm hard on myself. I'd like to turn that into like, okay, fine, yeah, I can't turn it off. Let's point the hose like this way so that I like it benefits me in some way. Um, like I start exercising more, or like I start meditating, because like just like anything, it could point it towards anything, but like um I'm just yeah, the being hard on myself stuff is exhausting, because I get the older I'm getting, it's just like, dude, like when are you going to be okay with yourself?
Well, I'm going to
It's
tell you something that I haven't told many other guests. So, look at my Zoom background as far as like what you see between the two sides of the brains and stuff like that.
yes,
So,
sir.
the way I try to live my life, especially since the pandemic, is being your own fairest critic, not your worst critic, your fairest critic. So, think of
Parrot.
it this way.
I
I'm
like that.
kind of like the Venn diagram in the middle between
Mm,
why I'm so analytical versus why I'm so jubilant in how I think.
yes. Wow, that's cool. I like the Venn diagram example too. That's like whatever the that's a good way to, I like that. That's a great way to look at it, man. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's super cool. That's actually kind of resonates a bit with me, and I think I could like employ that, you know. Um that that's really a dope way to look at it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I have hopes for how I'd like things to, or a change that I would like to happen, but um just the from my past and everything, I have to there's a big dose of like realism that I have to like tack on to, like it's probably not going to be this big a change, but like you can get closer, and like you can get there, but you have to go a little slowly, because if I want some like instant like kind of change, like just forget about it. It's not gonna happen.
Exactly, because
But
you're literally jumping above the ladder before even trying to climb.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just not gonna have success that way, unfortunately. Some people, and it's not to say that hasn't happened. Many people have just like boom and they changed and like bam. Um, and it's definitely by all means possible. For me, it is just not. Um, but that doesn't mean that it gives me an excuse to like whatever, you know. It's like I just hope to continue I guess just to continue being alive, to you know, continue bettering myself, I suppose.
Well, Nick, I
Just
got to.
yeah.
What are you gonna say?
I just stoked to be alive. I didn't mean to ramble on more, but go ahead and you can close it out.
Oh no, because what I was gonna say is, well, Nick, I have to say for this hour-long conversation, it has been amazing to pick each other's brain as far as what we've been talking about throughout this entire episode. For those
Yeah.
who have never seen the Change Within podcast before, we are a platform of change and we embrace it to the fullest. For those who want to follow us, please go on Anchor, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for the Change Within podcast. Nick, thank you so much for being on the show and have a great night.
Thank you, Gerard. I appreciate it, bud. Thank you.
Absolutely.